Welcome back to another video, guys. Today we're talking V-Stroms. The V-Strom isn't your typical bike that you'll find a younger rider on. They're usually on super sports or motocross bikes, not the quote-unquote dad bikes. But why did I buy a V-Strom and why do I love it so much? Firstly, this isn't my first motorcycle. For viewers of the channel, they'll know that I've ridden road bikes, enduros, dual sports, adventure bikes. But if this is your first time watching a video on the channel, I just wanted to give you some extra context. So with that, this is my 2017 V-Strom 1000. I purchased this exactly 1 year ago to the day today. And later in the video, I'll actually talk about whether I'm considering upgrading it, especially to the new V-Strom 1050DE or the 800DE, which were announced a while back and have actually just now being released. But for now, let's discuss my bike and why I love it so much. So why V-Strom? Well, at the time that I purchased it, I was just recovering from a pec tear surgery. I actually had no bikes in the garage, which was a dark time for me. So when I got out of the sling, I wanted a bike that I could take on road, that I could do some light off-roading, nothing too technical because I'd just come out of the sling, just recovering from the surgery. I didn't want to re-injure myself by doing these crazy technical trails. So I wanted an all-round adventure bike. I also wanted a bike that I could ride two up comfortably and be able to take my partner as a passenger, which I wasn't really able to do that comfortably on the Tenere 700, which I owned previously. Now, there isn't that many bikes that actually fall into this category. There was the Africa Twin, which was a little pricier than the V-Strom. However, the issue I had with the Africa was that it had the 21-inch front, which is a really good thing if you're going off-road, but the thing that appealed to me with the V-Strom was actually having the 19-inch front, making it a better all-rounder. Then there was the Kawasaki Versys 1000, which phenomenal road bike, but very road biased. It doesn't really have the off-road performance that I was looking for with the 17-inch front. Yeah, you can do some light gravel roads, but you'd leave it at that. Obviously, there's the BMW R1250 GS, which is really the king of these bikes, but it was just way out of my price range, more than double the price. So I love them, but way too expensive. And then lastly, there was the Yamaha Super Tenere, and this was a bike that I came very close to purchasing, but at the time that this V-Strom came up, it was just at a price that was too good to be true, so I ended up going with the V-Strom. However, I think I would have been happy with the Super 10 as well. Both phenomenal bikes. Now, actually onto the price. So I paid 12,000 Australian dollars for my 2017 V-Strom. It had under 10,000 kilometers on it, full service history, which was really only 2 services that it needed at that point. And it came with a whole bunch of extras. It came with the crash bars, heated grips, and I got a top box and some side cases, the shad luggage. Phenomenal, they're fantastic, exactly what I wanted. And it was in absolutely mint condition. It was owned by a 70-year-old he was the original owner. The only reason he was getting rid of it was because the bike's a bit big for him. He wanted to downgrade in size, but you couldn't have bought it from a better owner. So in my year of ownership, I've put on 8,000 kilometers on the bike. That includes an 8-day adventure to the Flinders Ranges. I've smashed out 1,000 kilometers in 12 hours on this bike, and I've done plenty of day rides to up with my partner. Which these are all the things that I wanted out of this bike, and it's just done them beautifully. The bike is super comfortable. The seating position, the seat, you feel like you're in a lounge chair. You feel absolutely no wind on you, which makes a difference with how fatigued you feel when you get to your destination. Like on my dual sport, the WR, the wind really wore me down before I got the windscreen, but even with the windscreen, it's still nothing compared to the V-Strom. And the pillion comfort, which is something that I mentioned, I take my partner quite often on the bike. The pillion comfort is phenomenal on this. It It was a big upgrade from the Tenere 700 because the T7 had a seat where it was the same seat all the way across. It wasn't elevated for the passenger. I've come to realize that that makes a massive difference. You really need the elevated passenger seat so that your heads aren't whacking into each other, their body weight isn't slammed against you. It makes the biggest difference. And then you've also got grab handles, which again, they just feel comfortable. This is a more general for all bikes, but getting the top box makes a big difference as well. Even if they're not resting on it, just for comfort, knowing there's something there, that makes a big difference. And yeah, the partner gives it the tick of approval. So some of the modifications that I've done include a SW Motec bash plate. I've added bark busters and the Mitas EO7 Plus tires. They were done just to make it a little bit more off-roadable. And then other little things is like a tank bag, and I've added the Oxford little throttle assist, little plastic thing, because yeah, just the bike doesn't come with cruise control, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. So one thing that I wanted, because I wanted to use it as an adventure tourer, I really wanted to make sure that it had a good luggage carrying capacity, and it did come with the shad side cases and the top box. They've been fantastic. My partner and I used it for that 8-day trip. We were able to pack everything that we needed. No issues there. The bike with us on it and the luggage was up at about 440 kilos, which we tested on the weight bridge. And yeah, I couldn't believe that. That's bloody heavy. But yeah, as for the top box, I always leave that on. It's super convenient. It's like having a little mini boot on your bike. So even for day rides, we'll find us chucking random stuff in it, water and whatever, random gear when you're leaving the bike. Super convenient. If I ever have a touring type bike, I'm always gonna have a top box on it. And like I mentioned, I also purchased just a tank bag. I chuck them on all my bikes, whether it's a road bike, enduro bike. I love having a little tank bag. They're super convenient as well. Now for the power. I wanted a bike that was fun to use on the road, and something that came up when looking at reviews and comparisons with other bikes was that the V-Strom was down on power on paper. Now, at the end of the day, this bike is over 1,000 cc's. The engine comes from a Super Sport, the TL1000. The bike is no slouch. It's pushing over 100 horsepower. Yes, it's not as much as some of these other bikes, you know, the KTM Super Adventure 160 horsepower or whatever. I'm not gonna say you don't need it, because it is fun having that kind of power, but this thing still does 0 to 100 in the low 3 seconds, a quarter mile in the low 11 seconds. Realistically, what more do you need? And at this price point, with what the bike allows you to do, to go on long adventures, comfortable, carry luggage, go off-road, and yeah, at the price point that I paid, I think phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And as for the reliability, which I haven't really touched on, but this engine, like I mentioned, came from a Super Sport, which it's been around for over 2 decades actually, barely changed. There's no major issues with them. Very reliable engines. And I've seen on forums numerous people with 200, 300,000 kilometers. There was even an example of one with 400,000 kilometers on the original pistons. So if that doesn't tell you that this bike is reliable, then I don't know what will. Now, as for negatives, I did mention that I've got this Oxford throttle assist because it doesn't have cruise control. That is one negative. Now, they have rectified that in the newer models, but as for my one, no cruise control. Now, there is the idle hammer issue, which I don't actually think it's really an issue. It doesn't affect reliability or anything, but basically what it is yeah, if you're at neutral and you've got the clutch out, there's like a clanking sound to do with the clutch design, and it doesn't affect reliability. Some people do change it because they get annoyed by it, but for me, it's fine, a non-issue, so I'll leave it as is. So I mentioned that the newer model comes with cruise control. So am I thinking about upgrading to the newer model? Well, for the 800DE, not at all, because I've got my WR250R if I wanted a lighter bike to do more technical trails. And as for the 1050DE, I wouldn't, again, this is similar to the Africa Twin where it's got the 21-inch front, which is not actually what I'm looking for out of an adventure tourer. The 1050 now, which still has the 19-inch front, but is just upgraded, I just can't justify the cost. Like, I think they're 24, 25 grand for a bike that, you know, is maybe only 5% better than this. Like, yeah, it's got cruise control, TFT, this, that, blah, 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 blah. There is all these features, but at the end of the day, the engine is very much the same, relatively unchanged. It's pretty much the same bike. Like, there's 5% difference maybe. So I'll stick with my $12,000 Vstrom 1000 for now and be really happy with it. Now, in terms of 5 years or 10 years down the track, I almost certainly will own a GS 1250 or 1300, 1400, whatever they are at the time, because they are the cream of the crop. Hey, I may even own one next week. With the rate that I own bikes, I might have a GS 1250 because I just go through bikes like crazy. But no, in real terms, I love the Vstrom 1000. I think I'm gonna have this one for a long time. It's served me well so far. And who knows, maybe I'll reach 100,000 kilometers on it. That's something that I've always wanted to do on a bike. This is my 9th motorcycle, but I'm at 10 now with the WR, but I plan to keep this one for a long time because I absolutely love it. If what I've told you today hasn't sold you on it, I hope that you at one point get to ride one and just experience it, because it is a great bike. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Let me know in the comments if you've ridden a V-Strom, whether it's the older model or the newer model, and let me know what you thought. But until next time, I'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.